Welcome to La Maison Wellness. I am so excited. We've got our first ever guest on our La Maison Wellness YouTube channel, and this is the very, very special Laura from Club Soda. If you haven't met her, she is an absolute legend and one of the leaders in the mindful drinking movement. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited.
I mean, we're going to make a cocktail, which is so exciting. Tell us a bit more about Club Soda before we dive into making cocktails.
Well, we call ourselves a mindful drinking movement. Our goal is to create a world where nobody feels out of place not drinking. So that may be about you building your own skills to go out into what is a very alcohol-centric world that we have. Or it's about getting pubs and bars and restaurants to change what they do and to accommodate a wider variety of drinkers in their pubs and bars and restaurants. So we've got a guide, which is clubsodaguide.com.
Yeah.
We've got courses and workshops and all of those sort of things. We run the Mindful Drinking Festival. We basically keep ourselves very busy.
Which that was just last weekend.
Yeah, we had that last weekend, 2 days where you did some stunning cocktails,
Thank
as
you so
always.
much for having me.
That's all right.
So many people came along. That was amazing.
Yeah, over 10,000 people over 2 days, and it was a real party atmosphere. There were celebrity talks and workshops and panels, and then all the cocktail and drink masterclasses. It was absolutely great. If you look out, you can come to one in the future.
And I think that's what I love about Club Soda. It's really much of a community and a growing community. You have a book that just came out. We've got the book today.
The book
more about this book.
The book is actually written by the community, so they're on the front, see, no author, and it's full of tips and advice that we've learned over 5 years of Club Soda. It's actually our 5-year anniversary this month. I keep forgetting that.
Amazing.
So,
5 years already.
And it's got lots in here, including how to get started, how to set your intention and moving forward, but also a really big section on what to drink instead, because for a lot of people that they're not quite sure where to go. Over time, after changing your drinking, your taste buds change as well. And more importantly, people don't know what to drink when they're out and about in a pub that doesn't have very good options, which is why I've called for your help today.
Yes. I also love the intro. It talks a lot about mindfulness and how to understand a bit more ourselves. To be able no, already.
It's a drunk book.
Is that because it wants to be here on the front? Here we go. We keep it
stays
right
up that
here.
long.
Yeah.
We'll be very surprised.
So the first part is understanding your relationship with alcohol and being a bit more aware, self-aware, which I love. So the intro is incredible.
Yeah, think about what and where and when and who you drink with, and really thinking, are all those occasions times that you want to drink? Or do you want to think about the days where you're drinking a bit more mindlessly and take some of those out? And going forward, who is it you want to drink with if you're going to drink, or is it about not drinking at all? So I'm an alcohol-free mindful drinker, but most of my colleagues in Club Soda are moderating mindful drinkers.
Yeah, and I think I will say that, I drink really, really rarely. I think I can't even remember the last time I had something alcoholic. But for me, I wouldn't say that I'm sober, because I consider myself as a mindful drinker, and being able to make the decision. And if in the moment it feels right and it's a beautiful occasion and it's a beautiful glass of wine or whatever it is, I want to be able to make the decision. And I think that in the process of changing your relationship with alcohol, it's so empowering to be able to say yes or no, and to decide when you say yes and when you say no. Instead of sometimes, as you were saying, I feel like that you end up being at the bar, and because it's overwhelming, you don't know what you drink, you're gonna say yes to that glass of wine or that gin and tonic just because of habit, of pressure, and being a bit intimidated
and
at
also
the bar.
because we have bar panic, despite the fact that we're very well practiced at going to the bar, we still have bar panic. And it's great that you can be a mindful drinker, but I know a moderating drinker, but I couldn't. I still look at people who leave half a glass of wine in a restaurant and think, how did they do that? And so you need to know that being alcohol-free, the sky doesn't fall in, and the options are getting better and better for you. And I feel like I've got a superpower. You've only got half that superpower.
All right.
Yeah, fine.
But I think that that's from the self-awareness, knowing that for you, it was going sober, that works for you. And for me, it's the actually saying, I know that I can have something if I want to, that I don't even want it. It's just a psychology behind it. Maybe for you it was going from one side. For me, it's knowing that it's there if I want it, but I also feel better if I don't. And I feel like that the less I drink alcohol, the less I want to drink.
And actually the thing that's interesting about you, which is you do lots of social occasions not drinking, and lots of people think they want to moderate because they're not sure they could ever do those social occasions not drinking, but until you learn that the sky doesn't fall in and you get great things happen the following day because you're not hungover, unless you practice that, you don't know whether you can turn on and off that switch. And only by trying that will you know whether you need to take a longer break or go alcohol-free longer term, or whether you can work hard to moderate. So it's not binary, and it's also not a linear journey changing your drinking. So you have to experiment.
And it's your journey, so experiment, learn about all the amazing products that are out there, make cocktails, and today we're gonna make one cocktail.
Yes.
We had a conversation when Laura, you were saying, what do you drink when you go to the pub? You know, I've been making cocktails for over a decade. I love playing with flavor, but it's true that like very often I make cocktail more for cocktail bars or for you at home being able to make it.
Some of us aren't that sophisticated, Camille.
I do love a pub. I mean, I do love going to the pub. So we were talking about making something that will be very, very simple with some simple ingredients that you can find in every single pub around the world. And we're going to start making it.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether you turn up and there isn't an alcohol-free beer or there isn't something that you're expecting. This should be able to give you a good backup, and you don't have to suffer the really awful Coke off a hose, which I think is not an evening out, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, as you said, you either go for like the Coke, or you feel like you have to order sparkling water.
Or you end up having a drink.
Or you end up having
drink.
a drink. I feel like that's, especially in the UK, we're pretty lucky that we've got loads of different non-alcoholic beer that are pretty delicious, so that can also be an option. But today we're making mindful cocktails, so should we start? You're going to be making
You know, I'm really bad at making cocktails.
That's what made it very, very simple.
Oh, gosh.
So we're going to start with ice. So you want to make sure that you get ice all the way to the top of your glass so the ice doesn't melt. If you just put it halfway up, the ice is going to melt and your cocktail is super watery. So when the bartenders put loads of ice in your drink, he's not trying or she's not trying to rip you off. It's just because you want to make sure it's the right temperature and right dilution.
And the other thing to say is if they're not doing that, ask them, say, could I have this with ice up to the top?
Yeah.
Be demanding as a customer, right?
Yeah. The bartender is there to make your experience. All right, so making sure there is loads of ice. Here you go, ice for you. Perfect.
Already stressful.
Exciting, exciting, you mean?
This is why I don't work in a bar, right?
It's all clean and perfect. Amazing, perfect. All right, so what we are going to use today is apple juice. Every pub would have some different juices, but apple is definitely one that they will store. And then some ginger beer and some soda water. We will do equal parts of those three ingredients. So you don't even need a jigger. All you need is 2 glasses for us today, and then ice, and then just pour. So we're gonna start with the apple juice.
So some bars only have really cheap apple juice, but you may find that some bars have a really a local apple juice in their fridge. It's definitely one of the things that they're likely to get, like an Orchard Pig or some of those. They do an apple juice. It's a little bit higher up the price bracket and might not be the one that's been open in a carton for a while.
Yeah. That will make a big difference in the taste of the cocktail for sure. Obviously, we're using a very good quality cloudy apple juice today. But I do feel like that pub are becoming a bit more conscious of their selection. So hopefully they should have a good quality apple juice. Cool. And then ginger beer. So this is a spiced ginger beer. Today we're actually using the London Essence, which I really love. They are low in sugar and really good quality. They might not have that, but any ginger beer will do the trick.
Yeah, they'll have something. There's often a Franklin & Son or a Belvoir Beaver, however you say it, and also a Fentimans you'll find in the pub quite often. Yeah. Fentimans is quite fiery. I find that too much for me. I'm a bit.
I love ginger.
Wait a minute.
Okay, so the glass goes like this. Yes. Yeah, you just, let it chill. And the reason why I wanted us to use ginger beer and soda water is because one other thing that you said was that often the cocktail will be too sweet. And I think that's one comment that I get a lot. When people try the Mindful cocktail from La Maison Wellness, they will say, oh my God, this is delicious. I would never have thought it was alcohol-free, and it's not sweet. So I wanted to make sure that like we will keep the sweetness down, and so cutting it with soda water will make it a bit drier.
And is that a rule generally, that if you want to just take the sweetness down, maybe you've got a sweet drink or you've got a juice, maybe going for a pint and lengthening it with soda, would that do the job?
Absolutely. And even if you do like an alternative to gin and tonic, or even if you're drinking a gin and tonic, you could do half tonic, half soda water as well. That's a good way to like, because tonic water is full of flavor and delicious, but also has a lot of sugar for most of the tonic water.
I've never thought
so
of
you could split with soda water, which is a good way to do it.
A cheaper night.
Yeah. And so topping up. Oh, I've almost did it for you.
I know.
No, you need.
It's like, you
I'm
know
just
how bad I am.
serve you cocktail, you know. Perfect. That was easy. It smells delicious.
In the pub, it'd be that thing from a gun.
It will be from a gun. We do not have the system on the channel. And then you want to give a gentle stir.
Now the chances are some pubs will now give it to you like this if you've asked for that. So get the straw.
You can use
or ask them for a spoon if they've gone straw free.
They might have like paper straw in some of the pub.
We had paper straws at the festival last week.
Yeah.
These are quite expensive. These just for a longer handle, it's far more expensive.
But very beautiful. And so good when you stir a cocktail. I had this spoon forever.
I used to live in a pub in my teenage years. I never quite worked out what these were for, but that's because they never made cocktails in the pub I lived in.
And then, so this is going to be super refreshing, delicious. The apples are quite fruity from the apple juice. A little bit of a kick from the ginger beer. Long and refreshing with the soda water. Also, carbonation really brings out the flavor in a cocktail. So again, I quite like to use soda water or sparkling water in cocktails because that bubbles would just burst out the flavor in your drink. But to make it and add some complexity to the drink and some layers, Angostura bitters, that's definitely something that most of the pub would have. It is an alcoholic bitter, but because we're going to use only 2 dashes, that will keep it
to hardly anything. You might actually have a bottle of this very dusty in the back of your cupboard. It still feels like it's something reminiscent from the 1970s, but it's a really, really handy ingredient. When I first gave up drinking, when I went to the pub, I'd always have a tonic with some Angostura bitters in. Yeah. Again, it just lifted the tonic a little bit, but meant that the alcohol content was minimal, very, very low, well under 0.5, if not even lower. So it's just a couple of drops.
Yeah, and it really adds some complexity, some beautiful, rich flavor. I lived in Australia and they all drink lemon lime bitters there, so that's where I started drinking it, and obviously it's used in cocktails quite a lot. So you want to do 2 dashes on the top.
Oh, look at the colour of it, it's great.
And I really like to just leave it as a float on the top.
I think that's about 4.
That still works. And then to garnish, again, something super, super simple, but that would add some aroma and really complement. Would you
stir it again with the Angostura bitters
So you can, definitely. I will serve it like this, just because I think it looks pretty with the bitters on the top. But then again, if you drink it with a straw, hopefully a pepper straw, you can just stir yourself. So I'm going to garnish it with mint. Here you go, this is yours. And then with the mint, what you want to do is have a little bouquet like this, like the head of the mint, and then place it in your hand and clap it. So you release all the aroma from the mint. And
you don't just dunk it in?
No, you don't. I mean, you can, but... And then you can't smell, but it smells pretty incredible here. And then just place it on the top. You can also cut the end if you want to, just so it doesn't show on the side, but perfect.
I've gone for very long stem.
And this is so what's the name of it? We need to come up with a name then.
I don't know. Well, what would bartenders understand? Because there's one thing making it, and we've made it here. Now, how do you explain that to a bartender? Now, you could say, if you said an apple juice, some ginger beer topped up with soda and Angostura bitters, they might panic, right?
I think if you were saying, can I have an apple juice with ginger beer, a splash of soda and 2 dashes of Angostura bitter, they wouldn't understand that. Like, I don't think that's like a very hard order that will make the bartender freak out.
Put this recipe up, and so you can just hold it up and hold it to the
yeah,
glass
we definitely
say,
put it on
this,
there.
please.
And it's quite simple. I think we were talking about maybe like, this is like your pub hack.
Yeah.
Which is like, you can just take it to any pub. What do we think?
So it's got to be an anywhere name. I'm going to have to think. I think people should put suggestions.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
In the comments, and we'll ask people in Club Soda for their suggestions on what to call it. But it's definitely a bit of an easy anywhere, isn't it? So,
yeah. So if you have any recommendation for the name of this cocktail, this mindful cocktail, just comment below. Should we have a taste?
Yeah.
Let's smell it first.
Oh.
I know, right?
Get you and your sophisticated ways. I just go in for the drink.
Let's just talk about the aroma first.
Okay.
So mint, refreshing, quite vegetal on the nose, Angostura bitters.
And it doesn't smell too gingery and it doesn't smell too appley. It's got definitely a mix of all of those smells, but none of them are too heavy.
Yeah.
So
That's how it tastes.
Apparently the smelling of the garnish is part of the experience.
It
Whereas
is.
I used to think it just got in the way of the drink.
You're like, no. No,
See,
it really
I was never a very
complements.
sophisticated drinker.
The garnish really complements the cocktail and is there to add layers to it.
And I'm surprised at how not sweet it is. And that's always been my issue, which is the minute that the bartenders in some places get out that fruit juice and pile another fruit juice on top of another fruit juice, it just is sickly. But I now really appreciate where that soda water and just a bit of ginger beer, not a whole lot of ginger beer, has really softened that and made it feel like an adult drink.
And it feels refreshing. It does feel like an adult drink, which very often when you order a cocktail, a non-alcoholic cocktail in the pub or in some of the bars, you feel like you're ordering from the kids menu. This feels simple but sophisticated, refreshing, and when you drink something that is too sweet, it was just add so much onto your tongue that like you can have one but then you're done, you know. So
and I think when bars explain some of their non-alcoholic cocktails on the menu, by the time they've listed things like ginger beer and apple and stuff, you've already got an image in your mind of a big heavy drink. So maybe they need to start saying, you know, and it's brought down a notch or two, or it's lengthened with soda to stop the sweetness, because then I get it. And I think you could also just have the recipe on the phone and just show it to them and say, this is what I want, please can I have it? But do be a bit demanding, you know, you are allowed to drink what you want to drink in a venue, and I think asking for what you want is really important. But even if you get totally stuck, then you know lengthening an apple juice with soda now, with sparkling water will make that less sweet for you, so that's even a better start.
Absolutely, and I do that with like, actually that's how I drink any fruit juice at home. I will always lengthen with soda water, again because it brings out the flavor with the carbonation, with the bubbles, and make it less sweet and more refreshing. So if you want to comment below what you think the name should be, and then subscribe to the YouTube channel, to La Maison Wellness, and then we will pick 2 winners, and you would have the chance to get a copy of the book from Club Soda.
We should both sign it as well.
We should definitely both sign it. So make sure that like we both sign the book with the name of the cocktail and the recipe, and then send that to you. So comment below with the name of the drink, subscribe to the YouTube channel, have a look at Club Soda and the amazing community, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the channel.
And you have to end with the bit that we always do on the end of our emails, which is cheers.
Cheers to mindful drinking. Pretty delish.